I'm an endorsed spell to write and read trainer, Liz FitzGerald from Northern California, and I want to welcome you to part 2 of our 5-part series in goal setting for spell to write and read. Welcome. Yesterday we talked about discovering and really claiming, identifying our why. Why are we teaching our children, or why are we using this curriculum? Okay, so that was what we talked about yesterday. If you haven't watched that video yet, go back and watch that one now. But today we're going to do some assessment. We're going to look at some questions that I want you to ask to really look at what you're doing, how it's going, and where you need to go next. All right? So the first thing, get a piece of paper because I want you to do some writing some more. All right? The first question I want you to answer is, what has gone well so far this school year? What are you doing well? Is it the time of day that you're having the lessons? Maybe you're pleased with where you are in the WISE list, in the spelling list. How's it going with the groupings that you've chosen? Maybe you've got 2 or 3 kids that are at a good place and you've put them together, and that grouping is going well. How about your pace? Is your instruction pace too slow or too fast, or hopefully it's just right? Is that going well? How about your lesson planning, putting together what you're going to do each day or each week? Maybe it's what you planned, but then also your process for putting together your lessons. How are you doing, and is that what in all of that is going well? Write that down. Then I want you to look at what's not going well. It's just not working to go immediately into our lessons when the baby is cranky and needs to be put down for a nap. That's not necessarily the best time. Or maybe I'm trying to squeeze it in right before dinner, and really I need to be focusing on the kitchen and not trying to rush through something right at that time. So take a look at when you're doing things. Is Johnny not able to have his lessons first thing in the morning? Or maybe right after lunch is not a good time for him. So take a look at when you're doing things, how you're grouping things, and what could possibly stand to be changed. One of the things to look at when things aren't going well is, what are the distractions that are coming up that are unavoidable, or the distractions that possibly you could even eliminate? What needs to change? Now, we could sit down and, I need to do this differently and I need to do that differently. But realistically, now that's a huge word here. Whenever you're doing assessment and you're looking at how you can make changes, what is realistic? Maybe you have a baby, maybe you have a toddler. Can you realistically teach 3 different groups every day and keep up with a nursing schedule and keep up with fill in the blank? What is realistic? A lot can be gathered when you look at the what's not going well. So what can be changed realistically? So how can you make a shift for the rest of this year? How can you possibly tweak things in the next few weeks, or maybe the next couple months? Take a look at your schedule. What's coming up? What big events do you need to be planning for that are going to interfere with what you're trying to accomplish? Take a look at those and do some realistic assessment. Is there anything that really can be changed? Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is New Year's goals. According to studies, this is very interesting, I just read this, 92% of New Year's resolutions fail. Every January, people start with hope and hype, believing that this will be the new year that does indeed deliver a new you. Although 100% start, only 8% finish. The way that you can beat those statistics is going to surprise you, okay? When you take the pressure off, when you do away with your perfectionism, you can dramatically increase your progress. I used to have the perfectionism demon controlling my schooling. Here's how it worked for me. If I didn't get my lessons done on Monday, then I would sometimes think I had to wait to next Monday to start again. Unfortunately, 1 week's wait turned into 2 or 3 until a quarter had gone by and I had barely touched my lessons. I tended to have an all or nothing mentality, that if I couldn't do it all that I had planned, then I couldn't do anything. So here's an example. When my kids were young, my daughter, when she was a preschooler, was involved in Cubbies. Cubbies was a preschool Bible club, part of the Awanas program. And on Thursdays, we would go to Cubbies, and I was a Cubbies leader. And so for about 2 hours, I would be working with preschoolers, leading a group and leading singing and that kind of thing. Thursdays, basically nothing happened because I would come home from Cubbies and I would be exhausted. I'd feed the kids their lunch and I'd lay down for a nap because I was wiped out. And by the time I'd get up, I couldn't even think about, I don't have time to do all of my lessons. And so SWR never happened on Thursdays. But I kept putting it in my lesson plans that I would do that. So I would look at how far I was from my goals, and I would just kind of keep trying harder, but never really look at how I needed to adjust things. And I wasn't looking at what is going on in our schedule that's basically derailing my progress. In the planning stages, I might see these details, but then I would think to myself, well, this time it's not going to happen. We're just going to have to do better. But I didn't plan for how to make it better or how to actually make things different. If all I had done was seen that Thursdays just aren't working, I could have tweaked the schedule. Or I could have done part of a lesson on Thursdays. Or maybe that would be my game day or something like that. But I didn't get that. My idea of just work harder or just be better had no traction because I wasn't looking at how I was going to realistically make the changes to produce better results. Believe me, when you are dealing with children and the cold season and life, sometimes just be better doesn't work. All right, so I want you to look at what are some ways that perfectionism, it derails your why. You have a goal, you have a mission, you have an idea of what you want to accomplish, but somehow you're not getting there. And a lot of times it's because of perfectionism. So what's going to be your game plan when perfect doesn't work? And I say when, not if. Because guess what? Life is not perfect. What's your plan for the day that the root beer spills all over the table, the baby is throwing up again, your husband calls to say he's going to be home late again, and you forgot to thaw the meat for dinner? What are you going to do on that day? By the way, that's a real life scenario for me. So think about it. Do some assessment. Remember your 3 questions. What has gone well so far this year? What has not been going well? And what can I realistically change to get going back on the right track? Or maybe to finally get on the right track. And then also think about in what way has perfectionism been derailing your efforts? Okay, that's it for day 2. Come back tomorrow for part 3 of this goal planning series.